You may be surprised or unbelieving, but what you are about to read is very real, backed by evidence and proof, in a story that continues to shake the world to this day. The author of this video is a man named Sergei Ponomarenko, who traveled through time from the 1930s to 2006. That means he aged 48 years by just seconds. On April 23, 2006, a young man suddenly appeared in the center of Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. He was in his mid-20s, wearing very old-fashioned clothing and carrying an old-fashioned camera. His features reflected terrible anxiety and tension. He was walking the streets, searching for streets that no longer existed. At first, people on the street thought he was a lost tourist, but strangely, he was describing places and routes leading to the streets he was looking for, which had existed in the past but have now disappeared. Two policemen were on the street, and the young man's strange appearance and words stopped them. They intervened, thinking he was a lost tourist, and asked him for his ID. This was the surprise. Sergei, a 74-year-old man. The young man took out his ID card bearing the name Sergei. The police discovered that his name was Sergei and his date of birth was 1932. This means that the cardholder was 74 years old at the time. His place of birth was in the Soviet Union, which collapsed in 1989. At first, the police thought the ID might belong to his father, for example. However, Sergei's photo was on the ID card. The police couldn't understand this, and they had every right to be. So they took him to the police station. During the investigation, they noticed that he was unbalanced and his speech was incomprehensible. They called in a psychiatrist to examine him. The doctor asked Sergei questions, the first of which was about today's date. Sergei replied that he thought it was April 23, 1958. The date was correct, but they were in a different year. The doctor corrected him and told him it was 2006. Sergei, however, was confident in his statement and told the doctor that he had read the date in the newspaper that morning. This meant there was a 48-year difference between the doctor's and Sergei's statements. The doctor asked him about the last thing he remembered and the reason for his confusion and tension. Sergei said that he had been walking in the streets with his girlfriend, Valentina. They were taking souvenir photos of the city with his camera, when suddenly a strange black object appeared, flying in the sky at a very high speed. The doctor asked him if the object was a bird. Sergei told him he didn't know what it was, but it was very large, and he wanted to take a picture of it. After he grabbed his camera and pressed the button, he lost consciousness and didn't realize he was alone among people on the street. The same thing happened. He looked for his girlfriend but couldn't find her. The doctor asked Sergei to take the camera from him to extract the photos. He asked Sergei when he had taken the photos, and he told him he had taken all the photos with the camera only that day. The police called in some specialists to empty the contents of the camera, which was very old and had stopped manufacturing it in the 1970s, making it difficult to extract the photos. However, after numerous attempts, they finally succeeded and found that the photos did indeed date back to the city of Kiev. But in the 1950s, they found photos of Sergei wearing the same clothes they found him in, looking the same, and being accompanied by a beautiful girl. They also found photos of a strange black object flying in the sky. Just as Sergei had said, the specialists told the police that there was something strange about the matter. It is known that these types of photos do not remain in their original state for more than 20 years. This means that what is inside the camera cannot remain for that long, and these images cannot be extracted from the film. The doctors and specialists were unable to explain the matter, so they decided to close the matter by sending Sergei to a psychiatric hospital and accusing him of insanity. Despite the existence of evidence to prove the truth of his words, they preferred to reject the matter. The doctor treating Sergei said that he had suffered a psychological shock related to a specific date, which affected his mental health and led him to insanity. Accordingly, Sergei was placed in a completely closed room monitored by cameras. The surprise was that Sergei disappeared from the room after several days, despite the presence of surveillance cameras and the lack of any escape route other than the door, which was, of course, tightly closed, as if he had evaporated. After his disappearance, the police reopened their investigations and found Sergei's friend, Valentina, who was still alive. They asked her if she knew anyone named Sergei. She burst into tears